Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this throw blanket. Now you can make it any size that you want, or you can use this stitch for something else if you want. It's actually very easy and it works out quite quickly. My measure is about 55 by 60 inches. Okay, now I'll give you the multiple in case you want to make it bigger or smaller. I think it turned out quite well. Okay, first I want to ask you not to forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you're just subscribing now or you've already subscribed, don't forget to turn a notification bell on to receive all notifications. That way you never miss any of my videos. And also don't forget to hit that thumbs up and give this video a share if you can. And check out all my other tutorials too and yarn content. So for this project I used LRA Cozy Alpaca Chunky. Now you do not have to use this yarn. You can use any yarn that you choose. This is a chunky weight, which is a bulky number 5. You don't have to use a bulky 5. You can use any weight of yarn also that you choose, because I'll give you the multiple and you can change to your desired length. But this is 70 acrylic, 30% alpaca. And there are 120 yards of a bulky 5 in this hank, and you're going to need to make it the size I did, around 1750 or 1800 yards of a chunky weight yarn. Now remember, if you choose to use a 4 weight, you'll need a little bit more than that. If you're going to make it my size, or even a 3 weight, you'll need even more than that. And then I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. If you're going to be using a 4 weight, I would recommend an I, which is a 5.5mm. And if you're going to use a 3 weight, I would use a H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. Okay, so if you follow along with me, I'm going to show you on a smaller scale, but to make it around my size, I chained 168 stitches. And if you want to do a different length, this stitch is done in any even number of stitches. So it doesn't matter, the length of your chain is going to be the width of your blanket, and then as we go up, that will be the length. So however wide you want it, you chain in any even number is what it needs to be. Okay, so once you get your chain of 168 made, what we're going to do is we are going to do a double crochet in the 4th stitch from the hook. So we don't count this one right here, so we can't start counting 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th stitch we're going to put a double crochet. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain. Just like this. 1 double in every stitch until you get to the end of the row. Alright, once you make it to the end of row 1, following along with me, you should have a total of 166 stitches, and that counts this chain here on the end. That counts as a stitch. Now rows 2 and 3 are the repeat rows for the whole pattern, so it's quite easy. It's just a 2-row repeat. So let's go ahead and begin row 2. Row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now that chain 1 that we just did does not count as a stitch. It doesn't count as anything. So we're going to go ahead and put a double crochet right here into this very first stitch. Just like that. Now we're going to be working a double crochet 2 togethers. And a double crochet 2 together is worked over 2 stitches. So this is how we're going to start out. We're going to yarn over. We're going to go right back into the same stitch that we worked this very first double crochet into, and we're going to draw up a loop. And then we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Now we're going to skip one stitch, so skip, and we're going to go into the next. We're going to yarn over, skip this stitch, go into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. You'll have 3 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 3 and chain 1, just like that. And now we're going to start the repeat of the row. So we did our chain 1, and now we're going to do a double crochet 2 together again. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to go right back into the same stitch that we worked our last stitch in, so right here, and we're going to draw up a loop. We're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and we're going to yarn over and we're going to skip 1 stitch and go into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and go through the remaining 3 loops and chain 1. And again, we're going to repeat that. We're going to yarn over and go right back into the same stitch that we just, the last stitch that we worked, so right here, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and we're going to yarn over, skip 1 stitch, and into the next we go, and draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and go through the remaining 3 and chain 1. And we're going to repeat this till we get near the end. So again, we're going to yarn over, go right into back into the same stitch that we just finished in, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, skip the stitch, go into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the remaining 3 and chain 1. So I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get near the end, and that is what it starts to look like. Alright, I'm coming to the end of the row. I did a double crochet 2 together, and then I chained 1, and I have 3 stitches that remain. So I'm going to go ahead and do another double crochet 2 together. So I'm going to yarn over, go back into the same stitch here, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, skip 1, go into the second to last stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and then yarn over and go through all 3, chain 1, and then we're going to end by putting a double crochet into the last stitch, and that will be row 2. Like that. Now we're going to go ahead and start row 3 by chaining 1 and turning our work. And remember that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So this is just a double crochet row. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a double crochet right back into this very first stitch. And now we're going to work a double crochet into every chain 1 space and on top of every double crochet 2 together until we get to the end of the row. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to go into this chain 1 space and double crochet. And then on top of the double crochet 2 together, we double crochet. And then in this chain 1 space, double crochet. And on top of the double crochet 2 together. And then into the chain 1 space. And on top of the double crochet 2 together, and we're going to repeat this. 1 double in every chain 1 space and on top of every double crochet 2 together until we get to the end of the row. Alright, once you make it to the end of row 3, you should be back up to your 166 stitches, and that is the end of the repeat. Now we just continue repeating rows 2 and 3 until you get to your desired length. So for row 4, it's just a repeat of row 2. So I'll go ahead and just show you how you start that again. So you just chain 1. Remember, we're just repeating row 2 and turn our work. We're going to put a double crochet right back into that same stitch. And then we're going to work our double crochet 2 together. So we're going to yarn over and go back into the same stitch there that we just double crocheted into. Drop a loop and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. And then we yarn over, skip a stitch, go into the next, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the remaining 3. Then we chain 1, and then we start the repeat of the row, and we yarn over and go back into the same stitch that we just ended in right here. Drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, skip 1 stitch, go into the next, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through the remaining 3, chain 1, yarn over, go back into the same stitch that we just ended in, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, skip 1, yarn over and go into the next stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through the remaining 3, chain 1, and then we repeat that. So we're just going to continue repeating rows 2 and 3. I'll put timestamps there on the video for row 2 and row 3, and you repeat that and repeat that. I did mine till mine reached about 60 inches, but you can do yours for however big you want. If you're using this stitch for something else, just however tall you want it to be. But that is it. I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial. I hope that you were able to follow along okay. Now remember, if you make this or anything else, I love to see a picture of it. You can always show me a picture on Instagram. Come follow me at Bagoday Crochet and then show me what you make. Hashtag Bagoday Crochet. I'd really like to see it. And remember, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like button, that share button, and I'll see you on my next video, okay? Stay safe, everybody. Bye, guys.